Hi everyone, on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, Lorraine here with something that started percolating for me this morning as I was thinking about the upcoming new year. And one of the common questions that's often posted on pages is, what are you ready to let go of in advance of the new year? What are you so done with? And it really got me thinking, and I wanted to talk more about that. What I have come to realize in my own journey and in working with so many clients over 30 plus years is that we can say a lot of things that we want to do, that we want to change, and really it turns out to just be words. You know, the idea of saying I want to let this go is a great intention, and sometimes just the awareness alone can be enough to release something. And I have often thought that, does it always have to be so complicated? And the reality is that we can move through experiences and let things go very simply, but we don't allow ourselves to do that. We make things complicated. We struggle with things. We keep loading things into making it impossible to believe and accept the fact that we can really experience things very gently and easily, because that's not really how we've been brought up. We've learned, no pain, no gain. Life is a struggle. Things have to be hard. You have to work hard at things. So naturally, there's this mindset that whatever we want to change or heal is going to be a difficult experience. And we are incredible at making that true. We prove that over and over again. So as I've thought about why we hold on to anything or anyone, even if it creates pain or health issues or life difficulties, here's some reasons that you might find that you relate to. If something is still serving you in some way, you're not going to completely let it go. I know sometimes people will go to practitioners like myself and come with the intention of having something be cleared on their behalf. And if that's been your experience, and maybe you have not had the experience turn out exactly the way that you want, one of the reasons why that can happen is if there is a human experience, a soul experience that is going to be important for your life, which may also include your being able to help other people navigate those experiences, the divine, the practitioner, the whatever team, spiritual team you might be working with, is not going to remove that learning experience from you because it's important for you to have it. That could be one of the reasons why you've come into a physical experience, is to have that experience. And so to have that removed, to have that clear, to have that be taken away would not serve your intention, your original intention and purpose. So think about that. We also hold on because it can be feeding a victim pattern. And there is something very compelling about fostering and holding on to victim energies. And letting that go puts us in a place of responsibility and owning our power. And when we feel like a victim, then we can sit on the sidelines and not really be the creators in our own life. We hold on because it can keep you in the illusion of comfort and safety. The devil you know, if you've heard that phrase, or who would I be without this ailment or this situation? What would I need to step up to? How would I live without this experience or this problem? Because I've become so accustomed to living that way, and I've gotten comfortable, even if it creates pain and hardship for me. Another reason why we hold on is there is a lack of acceptance, appreciation, and love for something. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that from my personal experience in just a little bit. And working with that experience may be part of your service to humanity, to help humanity heal and for the evolution of humanity. And so sometimes that can be part of your soul life blueprint, that you're having certain experiences so that you can be very thorough and that you can navigate that experience so well so that as part of your service, when somebody comes to you, you've been there and done that, and you know the terrain, and you can be a guide for that person who needs your kind of assistance. When we look at it that way, it really can be very inviting to see the gifts and the blessings of those experiences, even if they have been difficult. I know that I've experienced that in my own life, that this has not been the easiest life that I have lived, and yet I have gained so much wisdom and knowledge that I can share with others because of the fact that I have walked my talk, and that's something that I'm really proud of, and it's also something that I like to share with others. One of the reasons why I like to do videos like this. It's important to also remember that we release in layers. I know people don't like to hear that sometimes because there's this desire of, I want to get done with this already, and how long do I have to keep working with this, and blah, blah, blah. And I can tell you I've been there. I have felt that. And I also come back to that place of appreciation and acceptance and love because there's so much more that's happening beyond that experience that I want to be complete with. And I've really had to look at that again and again. I mentioned that your awareness can sometimes be enough in order to let something go. And sometimes you can let part of it go. And when it has that appearance of lingering, it's an indication that there's some deeper shadow work to do. And the other thing which you may not know is that because we are such powerful creators, we can let something go, bring it back, and recreate it again and again and again. Why? Because there is something, again, it might be, it creates some safety or some comfort, or it feels too scary to let it go. You know, I remember years ago when I was working as an addictions counselor in a recovery center, and one of the things that people would come in and say, I want to experience more peace in my life. And they grew up in very dysfunctional environments, and they were used to living in high intensity. And when things got too quiet and too full of peace and grace, they were uncomfortable. It felt threatening. So they would create all of these dramas in order to come back into their comfort zone. And one of the things that we had to work with was helping them discover safety and peace and ease in a lack of drama. And that was tricky for a lot of them because they were so good at being resourceful and being masterful at being in those types of experiences that they had become accustomed to. Hi, Thomasina. So we learn so much about ourselves when we're putting out the things that we want to create in our lives, and when we actually start to summon them and create them, they are not always comfortable because it requires an adjustment. And so we can start to recreate old experiences because we know them and we don't know how to live without them. And that's something that's wonderful to learn how to do. How do we know when we're starting to experience letting go? From my experience, I have found a sense of inner peace. There's a lack of emotional charges and triggers that no longer have the same intensity. And sometimes you may feel reactive and it may not be yours. So a good question to ask yourself when you recognize that you're in a place of drama and reaction is this mine? Because if part of your reason for being here, part of your purpose, is to be of service to humanity, you may actually be sensitive and picking up on some of the energies of the collective. And being able to identify what's yours and what's not yours can help you to unhook from being in that cycle of reaction and help you to move back into a charged neutral space where you can hold that space of peace and compassion and love for the world. It's part of one of the ways that we can be such a blessing for each other. So I talked about why we can hold on to something or be working with something for a period of time and feel as if we're just not done with it. So I want to just share, and you may have seen a video that I did several months ago when I talked about doing a love letter to cancer. Many of you have been following my journey over the last several years, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012, and over the last 6 years I've been dealing with a progression of going from a stage 1 to a stage 4. Last year I was in such agony and so debilitated that I wanted to die. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I couldn't, I felt like my quality of life had gotten so low that I just didn't want to be here anymore. And one of the things that was brought to my attention by a very dear friend was, if I was doing all of this work and I have great tools and I'm a very powerful healer, why was I still in this space of pain and struggle? And it was hard for me to see that I really wasn't at a place of acceptance and appreciation of love for what I was dealing with. I wanted it to go. I wanted to be done with it. And that's very common for many of the people that I work with, especially dealing with health situations, because there is a lingering quality to some of these conditions. And adapting to and getting used to living a certain way is not really what I believe that we're here to do. Our bodies have the ability to heal. And so I was feeling all of this frustration, and I had this insight that came to me to write a love letter to cancer. I actually did this on a new moon. It felt very auspicious to do that. And when I started to write the letter, I felt that it would be important for me, rather than to type it, and I'm a terrible typist anyway, was to handwrite it. And I sat down and I just let the stream of consciousness come out. And of course, I can tell you that it wasn't all loving. It was, I just let it rip. And I let my human self say what I needed to say about cancer. And I let the anger come out and the frustration and every emotion and every thought that I had about it. And then I came back to all of the blessings, all of the ways in which dealing with this health situation has opened my heart, has opened my eyes, has brought me to levels of awareness and capacity, has brought me healing gifts. It was incredible for me to be able to bring that into the letter, because it was true. And I know that sometimes when looking at what is perceived to be a negative situation, it's challenging to see where there can be some blessings and gifts in that, but they are there when your eyes are open to be able to see a broader perspective of what you're dealing with, of what you've called forward in your life. Because I don't believe that life just happens to us, that we're victims of our circumstances, that we have a role as creators in bringing situations into our life, and that it has a purpose. We're not always happy about it, and that's okay. But we get to decide how we walk through those experiences as victims, or we can work through them by tapping into our innate capacity and power as the incredible creators that we are, and we are. So I want to invite you to have an experience with me. Let's work with this a little bit. I invite you to take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down something that you've been holding on to that you want to release. And if you can, put down why you want to release it. It could be a pattern, a health issue, a behavior. You might write the past. Write down what immediately comes to mind. And I'm just going to give you a minute or two to do that. And I invite you to feel into what you're writing. Just notice your body sensations, emotions, and thoughts that come up. It might be something that you've worked on for a while. And I invite you to come up with something that's personal for you, not a person or a relationship. Good page. Yep. Just notice what's coming up for you in your body, your thoughts. It might be something that you've worked on for a while, something that you've been unraveling. And I invite you to pay attention as you're feeling into what's coming up for you. Do you feel annoyance, anger, frustration, resentment, regrets? Helplessness, hopelessness? Do you feel love? Appreciation? Gratitude? And if you're noticing that you feel more towards some of the, for lack of a better way of saying, some of the shadow energies, that's not really accurate. But if you're not really feeling appreciation and love and acceptance and gratitude, and more towards frustration and resentments and anger, that's what you're feeding your body. That's what you're feeding your heart. That's what you're feeding your soul. That's your diet. And think about the first three letters of the word diet is die. This is what you're nourishing yourself on. Because when we fight with things that we're experiencing in our lives, whether it's a physical experience or a life situation, something that is unwanted, that we want to get rid of, anything that you want to get rid of is lacking any love, any kindness, any appreciation, any of the energies that nourish and feed our hearts and our souls. It's a way that we starve ourselves and our bodies by projecting and continuing to feed those more dense energies that strip us, that starve us of what lights us up, of what lifts us up, of what creates transformational opportunities. And we're choosing that every time we become aware of what we're thinking, feeling, believing, and telling to others. Because the story that you tell over and over and over again is the story you live. And the more aware that you are to stepping into that space of appreciation and letting go of the need, and when I say need, N-E-E-D in capital letters, it may even be letting go of the need to let go. When I wrote that letter to Cancer, one of the things that I was very clear about is I called a truce with the battle that I was having, because I was projecting all of that frustration back into my body, which was making it that much more difficult for any further healing that could be happening, because I was continuing to poke, kind of like stirring the pot or poking at a sore. I wasn't creating that welcoming place inside of my body for what might be possible. And I needed to come to a place of peace and acceptance that if I was going to have cancer for the duration of my life, then that didn't mean that the quality of my life had to be diminished. Didn't mean that at all. And I needed to be okay with whether it stayed or goed. That doesn't make sense. Whether it stayed or left. And that's what I said in the letter. Stay or go. If you're serving me in some way, let's work together. If it's time for you to go, you'll just go naturally. So as I go through my day, and there are times when I'm feeling a little draggier or I'm not at high energy, and I find my thoughts moving back to the fact that I'm dealing with a health situation. I'm not a health situation. I'm dealing with a health situation, and I make that distinction. And I come back to that deeper truth inside of myself, that at the deepest core, when I am aligned with my true self, I am existing in a state of vibrant and total health. And that's where I put my attention. Not to diminish or to deny what I'm experiencing physically. I just don't dwell there. And I come back to this partnership with this part of myself that is serving me in some way. And I will tell you that it has been an extraordinary experience. I have grown more in the last 6 years, and actually in the last 2 years of being on my knees, that I brought myself to my knees because I am a powerhouse. And I know I had to knock myself down in order to break through a level of denial. And I am grateful to myself for that. I'm grateful to my spirit for being relentless in helping me find my way back. It wasn't an easy journey, and I will tell you that when I think back, I'm actually in awe of myself. I am. So whatever it is that you're struggling with in your life, I invite you to be in that place of awe. To let go of the need to let go of the need to battle your way through something, to fight your way through something. Be open and curious to feel, to see, to know what that experience is trying to show you, what you are trying to show yourself, what you are trying to get your attention to in every which way possible. Because the brilliance inside of you knows every button to push, every single button, and loves you so much that it won't give up on you. It will not give up on you. Feel a little emotion as I say that. When you stop pushing and fighting with yourself in life, you'll be more in the flow of grace and alignment with your true self. This is the invitation of coming into 2019. And please, if you still tend to get in your own way, get assistance to help you navigate your shadows. Sometimes we are so close to our own shit that we just can't see beyond it. And one of the things that I was reminded of this morning in one of the posts is some of the most beautiful things grow out of shit. You know, when you think of fertilizer, flowers and nature is nourished by some of the shit. And I'm remembering that when I was running groups in the recovery center and we would bring the group to a close, we would stand in a circle and say the Serenity Prayer. And we would always end with, I know I'm somebody special because God don't make no shit. Obviously, I like saying the word shit. I've said it several times. But the truth of it is that sometimes the things that we see within ourselves as being unlovable, as being imperfect, as being something to be gotten rid of, is what makes us the most powerful and the most beautiful and the most fabulous and the most valuable. 2019 is right around the corner. A blank slate is ready to unfold. How do you want to walk into this year? with your arms open or with your arms in a fist. You get to decide that. My wish for you is that it be full of health, love, and bountiful blessings. And I welcome any comments that you have from anything that I've shared. I always love to hear from you. And I invite you to share this video with others if you felt that what I shared with you today has been of value to you. And I thank you so much for joining with me today. From my heart to yours, I'll see you in the new year. Be well, everybody, and enjoy the rest of this beautiful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.